So I know someone who's been able to accumulate a significant amount of Chase Ultimate Rewards points. We're talking hundreds of thousands of points in a really short amount of period. And then he's also been able to take those points and redeem them for a really high amount of value by utilizing Hyatt as a transfer partner. So I brought him onto this video and we're going to get his insight on how he's been able to do that. So without further ado, I brought Anthony Venture onto this video. Anthony, how are you doing today?
How's it going, Matt? How's everything, man? Thanks for having me on.
Of course. Yeah, really excited to dive into the video, talk everything Chase, everything Hyatt.
Oh,
Just
yeah.
to start off the video, I'm just curious on, the overall strategies in terms of how you've been able to accumulate so many Chase points so quickly, and what your, I guess, core strategies have been there.
Yeah, so when we were getting ready for this, I was trying to think like how many points have I actually earned? Because I've redeemed a lot over the summer and I've earned a lot. And as it stands right now, if I'm not factoring in points that I have redeemed, and I could add it in after, currently I have 200,000 chase points. My wife has also 200,000 that just cleared. And then I
Mhm.
also have 400,000 Hyatt points that have been
Wow.
transferred from Chase. So I guess total right now, as it sits, is about, if I do transfer it all Hyatt, like 800,000, I guess, chase points I
Okay.
have earned, excluding maybe over 100, 150,000 that I've redeemed over the summer for some different hotels and stuff. So that's how many I've earned so far. Yeah.
And what period, like, I guess, like, when did the period start that you started earning all these points, and like how quickly were you able to accumulate all of those?
Honestly, so at the beginning of the year, so starting 2024 in January, I talked about like essentially my goal for the year, which was to get one of these ink cards, these Chase Ink business
Mhm.
cards, every single quarter, as some people colloquially known as the ink train. Because I just happen to be somebody who has like many different businesses. I have my real estate business. I'm a real estate agent in South Carolina. I have the YouTube business. We talk about the credit cards and stuff. I have technically a t-shirt business. And my wife also has her
Mhm.
own business. So we have many different businesses to put these cards under. And I just found that I was like, okay, these chasing business cards are offering such high welcome offers, 75K, 90K after spending 6K in the first like 3 months, 6 months, something like that. And there's no lifetime language. Like, usually there's a cool down period. Like, oh, you can only get a welcome offer on the Chase Sapphire Preferred once every 4 years. This had no cool down time, or it did years ago, but doesn't currently, where you can just get one technically every few months. And at least for me, it's kind of more in the legit way, maybe. I don't know. Um,
Mhm.
but still, nonetheless, because it's just tremendous value, and I found that I can get a lot of value from these cards over time. So that was my goal, and that's actually what I ended up doing. So over the course of the whole year, from January till now, it's October, it's November now. I ended up accumulating six between my wife and I, six different ink business cards.
Wow, that's awesome. And
Yeah.
can you talk a little bit more about like how you've been able to do that in terms of like setting them up through certain business entities and like because typically, a lot of times if you're just applying for a personal card, like, oh, maybe you can just get one of them for yourself. But
Yeah.
how do you get multiple ink cards across like multiple entities?
So the conventional wisdom at the beginning of the year when we were starting this out and I created the whole plan, I was like, you know, the conventional wisdom states that you need to you're allowed one of the welcome offers per business and or entity. So if you
Mm.
applied under as a sole proprietor, under just your social security number, okay, that's a welcome offer. That's a new card, and then you can apply again via like an LLC for the exact same business, and then also get a welcome offer. What I found over time, and why I think Chase is starting to crack down a little bit more, because a lot of people probably ended up finding this out and doing this themselves, but what I found out through trial and error is that it actually does not matter what you apply for. I did
Mm.
sole proprietor for my first one, also for the second one, and the third one, and even a fourth one. So I've done
Mhm.
literally basically, except for one of them actually. One of them was under the real estate business. The other three ended up just going under the YouTube business because of the way it codes in the application itself. It's just marked as like information and social media, which all falls under the same umbrella. I was like, well, it's the same one for all the other businesses. It's the same umbrella, and I don't want to deviate from that category because it doesn't really make a big difference anyway. I don't want to deviate
Yeah.
from the category because that's what's got me approved, and so I just continued doing that. So I did. I actually still at this point have never established an LLC for any of the businesses yet. So it's all been sole prop. So I kind of myth
Mm.
busted that just by brute force over the past year, I would say. So ideally, that's how people wanted to set that up initially. They're like, do that way to be correct, but I don't think it actually matters personally.
Okay. Yeah, that's really good to know because I mean, myself even I've gotten 2 Chase Ink Unlimiteds, but one of them was through my LLC, one of them through the sole
Yeah,
prop, and the conventional wisdom, like you said, is typically it has to all be separate. But
yeah,
it's really interesting to hear that you've been able to just get approved and accumulate all those points just
yeah,
within the same type of entity too.
yeah,
But yeah, obviously you have all these Hyatt points that you've transferred out from Chase over to Hyatt, and you still are sitting on, a good amount of Chase points as well. Can you talk a little bit more about why specifically Hyatt? Why you decided to transfer over to Hyatt?
it came to a time where I realized like I was I took a few different trips to a few different vacations between my wife and and I ended up spending all of my Hilton points, all of them. And
Mm.
I remember one of the grand trips I did at the end, which ended up being not so grand, was I went to St. Augustine in Florida. And I booked a Hilton brand Hilton out there, and it was right on the water. It was very nice, but it basically bankrupted me with Hilton points. And I said, I don't really have any other way to earn Hilton points at the moment. Like I guess I couldn't get a Hilton Aspire, but I don't really want to foot the bill of a 550 annual fee right now.
Mhm.
And I already have the no annual fee Hilton. I already got the welcome offer on the Surpass. And for the Amex cards, you have the once per lifetime welcome offer. So you can't just continue getting them. So that's when I was like, okay, is there another hotel chain out there that I could possibly earn currency in so this way I can continue,
Mhm.
supplementing our obsession of, going to these, very nice fancy hotels. And sure enough, what I eventually stumbled upon, which was the chasing cards, because, well, like you said earlier, like you can get a Chase Sapphire Preferred, but I already have one. And you can only get that welcome offer once every 4 years, which would be next November. I'll be able to get that again. I don't have a Freedom Unlimited or a Flex technically, so I guess I could have done that, but still, it's not like the most amazing amount of points. It's good, but not amazing. But when I saw the ink cards and I realized, okay, we have the real estate business, YouTube business, all these different businesses. Why not try it out? Because the welcome offers are so high for a $0 annual fee. That's another thing. It's like, why would I even get an Aspire for 550? You know, barring all the credits and whatnot, when I could just get one of these, like these ink cashes or ink unlimiteds, $0 annual fee and a large amount of points, like 90,000 points on the welcome offer. So once I found that out, I was like, okay, let's just get a lot of Chase points so I could transfer to Hyatt because I already had a couple of experiences with Hyatt during that time. And I was like, let's just kind of go all in Hyatt. I went all in Hilton for many years, ran out of points, bankrupted myself. So now I'm kind of all in Hyatt. So that was kind of why I gravitated towards them, because just needed a place to park, points for hotels. And Marriott's a little bit hard to accumulate points with, I think.
Mhm. And do you think, I guess, like having all of these Hyatt points and really focusing on the Hyatt ecosystem specifically, do you think that there will ever be a point where you have these chase points, you're earning a lot of them, that you'll decide to use those chase points for a different purpose in terms of like maybe transferring out to an airline partner or just another way? Or do you think it's going to be Hyatt for a while?
Yeah, well, this is why I think I'm in an interesting spot than other people, is because I am still such a novice in the whole travel game, and I'm trying to keep my options open. So, like I said, I have 400,000 Hyatt, and the reason I transferred 400,000 was because that was going to allow me to book, at least in my mind now. It might change in the future when I hear new data, but at least for now, people say the Park Hyatt in Tokyo is really nice,
Mhm.
so I would love to stay there. So I figured you could actually do like a 5 to 7 day stay with like 200,000 points, something like that. And then I also wanted to book, if it's possible, because it's under Mr. and Mrs. Smith now, the Palazzo Manfredi in Rome, Italy. If
Oh,
not, I'll
wow.
book probably some other, nice Hyatt hotel out there. But the way I thought of it is like, if I could just book 7 days, 5 to 7 days in Japan and in Italy, that's all I really need for this year. And then future years I could figure it out. So 400,000 was enough to foot that bill. So now that's covered. I'm cool.
Mm,
But
mhm.
now we have 400,000 chase between my wife and I, and I'm like, what should I do with that? I'm like, do I
Good
use it?
problem
Like
to
you said,
have.
yes, yeah, right, yeah. That's right. It's first world problems. You have, oh, 500,000 chase points. I'm just thinking, like, should I? I could transfer it all to Hyatt and have close to 1 million. That would be cool. But do I need it? Not necessarily. Maybe I will in 2026. Who knows? But I'm also keeping the options open. Keep it there, so this way, if for some reason there's a cool, I don't know, transfer bonus, or if I learn that there's a new airline that can get me to Italy or Japan a lot cheaper by using chase points. Um, then I'll do that. I'll probably do that. So as of right now, I don't have a plan, but probably as I learn more, I will have a plan with those points.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense, and obviously, Hyatt being a little bit more niche in terms of being a transfer partner of Chase, but not with
Yeah.
Amex, so then it's like, oh, transfer Chase points over to Hyatt, and then maybe you go the airline route with Amex points,
Yeah.
could be an option, but I'm curious, just on the topic of Hyatt points especially, there was a pretty major devaluation of Hyatt properties earlier this year, so I'm going to pull up that article right now. So, like I was saying earlier this year, there's a big category change that happened with Hyatt. So basically, a lot of Hyatt properties were actually increased in terms of the category that they're associated with, which again makes it more difficult for us as consumers in terms of points. So I have this little portion highlighted here. Basically, 137 Hyatt properties got higher award categories, and then 46 went to a lower award category. So all in all, this is not necessarily a positive change. For the most part, it's a negative one. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on it. Do you think this is something that's going to come more in the future? There's going to be more devaluations. How do you think this affects the average person? And is this something that even really matters?
Yeah, so just to kind of for those who are unaware with Hyatt hotels, they're on a category chart. So like between category 1 and category 8, 8 being the highest, like the highest level,
Mhm.
you hotel you experience you can kind of think of. Technically, they're based on how many points it actually takes to book per night. Like category 8's around 40,000 points. Category 1 could be as low as like 3,500 points. So the idea is when they mention like, oh, they're getting higher award categories, it means that 137 Hyatt hotels they show right here, meaning they're going to go from like a category 4 to category 5, meaning it's more expensive to book, more points to actually book. And why that hurts a lot of other people is if you actually go through the list, I remember looking many months ago, but a lot of hotels that were in that range, literally from category 4, did get bumped up in category 5, which you might be thinking like, okay, it's just a few extra points, who really cares? But for anybody who has either global status or has like the World of Hyatt credit cards, you're getting
Right.
free night certificates with Hyatt. And with that, you could actually book, at least at the lowest level of globalists, I should say, a category 1 to 4 hotel with the free night certificate. Actually, yeah, you could see right down there. They mentioned that. And like, oh, this in their example, Manchester Grand Hyatt San Diego. So as before this whole devaluation, you could use your free night certificate, book that Manchester Grand Hyatt, and you're good to go. Now that it's moving to category 5, you can't do that any longer. It's not like Marriott
Mhm.
where you can use free night certificates and top up. It's just based on the category. So if it's 4 and under, you can use it. 5 and over, you cannot. Luckily, a lot of the hotels that I wanted to stay at all stayed at the category that they were at before the devaluation. So
Okay.
I think, oddly enough, well, I wanted to stay at the Andaz in Maui, that's in Hawaii, and that was category 8 already, so that wasn't going anywhere. That's like a top 10
Gotcha.
hotel in Maui. But if you look down below, actually, the Rome's Tribune, that's the JDV by Hyatt.
Mhm.
Those moved to category 5, which actually would technically hurt me because that was possibly a hotel I wanted to book. I could have used the free night certificate. Now I can no longer do it. So, yeah, I think these things are going to continue happening. Like everybody mentions, every points currency, the dollar, all these different things get devalued over time. And that's why my favorite phrase is just to make hay while the sun's shining. Like if everything's going wrong, get a lot of different points, book a lot of these things out whenever you can. And that's the main point, is like whenever you can. If you can book it, then do it. If you can't, then don't. But, if you have the opportunity to book something, probably just do it. Do it sooner than later because you never know when a new devaluation is going to come around.
Yeah, I really agree with that. So on that topic, obviously a big negative of all those Hyatt devaluations are people who have the Hyatt credit card to where their free night award gets up to a category 4. And then the biggest problem being a lot of those category 4 properties going up
Yeah.
to category 5, making them ineligible to use with that free night certificate. Do you yourself have the Hyatt card as well, or are you mainly just accumulate Chase points, transfer to Hyatt, and use that way?
So when I talk about what I have, it means what my wife and I have. That's right. We're
Yeah,
we're a team
me
now,
too.
right? So
Yep.
so so my wife has the World of Hyatt card.
Okay.
She has it because her 524 was so low. So she said, "Oh, just go get it." So she has that card. And we currently have a free night certificate to use, which I'm trying to figure out exactly where it would be best used. Like
Mhm.
there's a lot of category 4s abroad. So I think there's some good opportunity there to save it a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't personally have the card. I'm actually In hindsight, I actually should have picked up the World of Hyatt recent high welcome offer of 5 free nights. So 5 free night certificates for spending the same like 3K, I think, in 3 months. I think that was a really good offer, and I kind of missed out on it because I was trying to cover my
Yeah.
524.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. And for myself, I think strategically using points or free night awards to book, especially international properties, has been a pretty successful thing. Just
Mhm.
because a lot of times, based off the valuations of certain properties, you could be getting a little bit more value internationally. So, could you talk, I guess, a little bit more about your strategy, especially with all these Hyatt points, all these Chase points that you still want to transfer out, and like what you've seen in the past, just in terms of redemptions you've made domestically, redemptions you have made or want to make internationally, and how those two connect and which one typically gives you more value?
So, I mean, I guess so for right now, the caveat is I have not, gone overseas yet, so I
Mm.
don't necessarily have the experience of going to some of those hotels abroad. I see the value charts, I see how many points it takes to book, and what I will want to book in the future, like I mentioned, Park Hyatt Kyoto or Park Hyatt Tokyo, no, yeah, Park Hyatt Kyoto, I think is the one that people mentioned. That
Mhm.
one and the either the Tribune or the Palazzo Manfredi in Rome. Like I know the award charts there. I know the value there. But over the past years, I can only book what I as have been vacationing in, which is just in the U.S. So I've been using my high points for every stay, like spanning from early summer, like in May, went to Washington D.C. and I was able to book
Mhm.
the Thompson out there, which was a Category 5. Thompsons are great, very
Nice.
modern hotels, very unique. Some of the higher, like basically a Thompson to me is kind of like higher class. It's almost like a Conrad in a way, if you relate it to Hilton, almost with some
Mm.
of how modern it looks a little bit in the service. So I really like Thompson for that reason. And then shortly after that, I ended up doing another trip. Well, actually, I should say for that Washington D.C. trip, Hyatt basically footed the bill of that entire my Hyatt points footed the bill for that entire trip. So like I stopped in Virginia, I booked a Hyatt place there,
Mm.
stopped just outside of DC, I think also in Virginia, and I booked the Hyatt Regency. Then I booked then I booked the Thompson out there, and I hit 3 different brands all within one trip. And I'll just mention, just in case anybody is still unaware, but the Brand Explorer, anybody that has a World of Hyatt program, like if you're in the World of Hyatt program, Brand Explorer is essentially for every 5 unique brands that you stay in, they're going to give you a free night certificate. So if you stay in a Hyatt Regency, a Place, a Hyatt House, a Thompson, and maybe a JD by Marriott, you're going to get a free night certificate. And then when you do another 5 unique ones, you get another free night certificate. And that works per account. So my wife and I can book you know, all those different hotels to get free night certificates out of it. So for me, so far, it's been literally the lowest end and the highest end. I booked 3,500 a
Mm.
point Hyatt places, have really great experiences on interstate travel, like on the way to your destination. And then once you get there, I could book Thompson's and all these other really nice Hyatt so far that have given me some of my best trips so far. Like that Thompson, not only in DC but also the Thompson I booked in Savannah, Georgia, was like one of the best 24 hours I've ever spent at a hotel. Like they got the rooftop bar, they got rooftop restaurant, really really exceptional service, very unique and modernized. So far I've just been just trying out the whole program, trying out all the different hotels, and I can't wait to book even higher end ones like Andaz and all that in the future.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I feel like the Brand Explorer as well, like has a couple different benefits. Number one, obviously the hidden value of being able to get some of those free net awards by just trying out a couple different brands, but also
Mhm.
it really inspires you to want to try out the different brands and figure out, which ones you
True.
like the most, like which ones you have good experiences with. And overall it's pretty cool to just help you try out different hotels while giving you benefits via those free night certificates at the same time.
See, I love that point. I did not to cut you off, but I love that point about like
Yeah.
almost forcing you in a way. You don't have to, obviously, but if you want the free night certificate, go stay at another brand. See, like Hilton, I had a goal to stay at all. I think it's 21 brands now, and I stayed at like 13 of them. But you don't get anything from it. You just get like
Mhm.
bragging rights, like, oh, you
Pat on
stayed
the
at those
back.
brands.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But with Hyatt, you actually get something for trying out all of their different brands, and I think there's like, if I remember correctly, it's like 27, maybe 29 of them, maybe 30 now if they add Mr. and Mrs. Smith now that they added that
Mm.
one, which I think is also kind of slept on, even though the points chart is not great. But Mr. and Mrs. Smith's interesting. But I love that point. Like, yeah, force you to try out the different brands because they really do. They all have their own unique kind of feeling to all of them in a way. It's good to learn.
So my last question for you, Anthony, is I just wanted to put it all in one place just for people who are interested in Hyatt, interested in transferring their points out to Hyatt, to talk about the redemptions that you've made so far with Hyatt that you've liked the most, and then some of the ones that you're looking forward to hopefully making in the future, just so people can hopefully get a little bit inspired by some of those redemptions they could potentially make.
Yeah, so just to have the full overview, like the only thing in my mind, of course, subject to change, like I said earlier, like if there's new data and better hotels, then I'll just book that. But as it stands right
Mhm.
now, definitely if I go to Italy, I've been saying it for years, I want to book the Palazzo Manfredi. It's under Mr. and Mrs. Smith now, so I think it actually might be like 50,000 a night. So it's a little more
Okay.
expensive than it used to
Yeah.
be just a couple years ago. But 50, 60,000 a night. So I could at least book like probably 3 nights there, for like 150K Hyatt points, and then I'll book that Tribune we saw earlier, possibly, unless I see other ones that are better, for another few nights, something like that. So I think that one's only maybe 20,000 a night, so like 60,000 there, 150 there. It's about
Mhm.
210,000 points, and I get almost a week in Italy. Park Hyatt Kyoto, if that's the correct one, or the Park Hyatt Tokyo, whichever one it actually is. I think
Mhm.
that's 35 to 40,000 a night. So I can get technically 7 days for 200,000 points. And that's, my other half of my Hyatt stash. So that's what I plan to do. I think that would be a lot of fun. Even though some people recommend like try a lot of different hotels, I might do that too. I don't know. And then for redemptions I have done, I will say at least the more memorable ones was I would say the Thompson in DC was definitely a lot of fun. I booked 2 days there, 15K a night, so 30K total.
Mhm.
And I think the cash price would have been like 700 with taxes and
Oh,
fees,
wow.
something like
Okay.
that. So when you think about like getting one of these, ink cards for 90K on the welcome offer, you could book, 3 times that amount. You could book, 6 different days or a full week in DC on one of these cards, not even factoring in like referral bonuses between your wife and you and all those different things. Um, and then also, what else did I book? And then just for the most part, a lot of like the little trips, like when in St. Augustine, I booked a Hyatt place. Like I booked like 10 Hyatt places in the last year just because it was on the way to the destination, or I didn't want to come out of pocket too much. So if you don't want to pay cash, you don't have any Hilton points or Marriott points left, nothing to transfer. I mean, 3,500 to maybe 6,500 points a night for a Hyatt place is like, I mean, people earn that just through their normal organic spend, in a
Yeah.
few months sometimes, with some of their chase cards and what have you. So I really love the versatility of them and the value of them. And of course, it can go down over time. On average, I've gotten about 2 to 2.5 cents per point across all of my Hyatt stays, whether it's high end or low end.
Mhm.
So that's just kind of what I expect going forward. But yeah, I would say for me, it's nothing too crazy yet. But for the high end ones that I booked, like the Thompsons, and I'm having a lot of fun with those. And then yeah, the low end ones are just great value overall. Because like 3,500 points, and I'm able to book a hotel. It's like 150 a night. Like that's I don't even know what the cent per point is. That was seven. I don't know. No, that's not correct. I don't know. But what's the cent per point on that? It's probably very high. But either or, I think
Yeah,
it's just
no,
great value.
probably 4, 5 maybe, but
Probably yeah.
in general, I think that's the biggest calling card with Hyatt too, is just the point valuations are strong. Sometimes with some other programs, like if you book some of those, more affordable, lower end hotel stays, the point valuations can get not great, but with Hyatt, I feel like it stays good throughout. Like it has the versatility, like you said, to have a good point valuation for a lower end hotel, but then the same thing for a higher end hotel as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, it seems like you got a lot of fun things in the pipeline to hopefully try out some of those Hyatt hotels in Japan and Italy as well. Um, but yeah, no, I think this was a great conversation, Anthony. I don't have anything else for you. Do you have any like final thoughts on Hyatt or Chase or anything that you wanted to say as your parting ways?
No, I think just while you can, if you can, get some more ink cards, get some good points. I'm just kidding. But
Yeah.
no, thank you so much for having me and no, this was fun. Thank you, man.
Of course. Yeah. Thank you so much for coming on, Anthony. Everyone, if you aren't already subscribed, which you probably are, but go check out Anthony Venture on YouTube. Has some great content out there about credit cards and everything related to that. But yeah, it was a great time having you on, Anthony, and appreciate you all for watching.